listen, we are. This is the deal. We continue to pile up our debt. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, hearing the Democrats at the debate the other night, all they want to do is to continue to pile up spending. So our debt is going out crazy. The big question is, hey, how do you pay for all of this stuff that you want to give away? To Democratic strategist Christy Setzer and former Bush Quayle deputy campaign manager Mark Serrano. Mark, listen, I understand, buying elections, but how do they pay for all the stuff that they were promising?
Charles, what we saw in that debate the other night was Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, and 3 Democrat elves competing with each other to give American treasure away that we don't have. What they don't appreciate is American voters elected Santa Claus in 2008, and they don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. These Democrats, Bernie Sanders, for instance, is proposing $17 trillion in new spending, and he's just getting started. But what they're losing is appreciation for the fact that under a Democrat, for 7 years, we've raised the debt $8 trillion. What has the average American household gained from that? There's less earnings, less employment, and greater personal debt. And they're not showing any appreciation or understanding whatsoever for market economics or kitchen table economics, for that matter.
And Christy, to that point, while this federal government continued to pile on debt, continued to spend what some people will say is recklessly, the average American, the average household has brought their debt down. Even to this day, we're not using our credit cards the way we once did. We are so fiscally responsible as a nation, but the people that lead us aren't, and now more promises. How do you meet that?
Well, I think that what Republicans don't seem to understand is that economic inequality is a real issue and that people across America are really feeling it. So they don't begrudge Democratic efforts to alleviate economic inequality through things like raising the minimum wage or even Bernie Sanders' proposal for free college. Because, again, average Americans, despite the fact that the economy is recovering, that, we're seeing the Dow rebound again and unemployment is, down again to 5%, still are feeling, as though they don't quite have our economic situation under control.
You know why, Christy? I'll just jump in here 1 second while you're doing the Democratic commercial. The reason why is because they know why it's down to 5%. They know that millions of people have left the job market. In some cases, they might be the ones who left the job market. They also understand that this higher minimum wage thing is sort of specious. The reason why a lot of people are in favor for it, because it only impacts less than 3% of workers, and only half of those are adults beyond teenage years. But here's the thing: two days ago, USA Today had the top five places, states with income inequality. 4 of them have been led by progressive economic policies for decades. So maybe your cure is the actual reason we have income inequality.
I don't think so. I think a lot of times that the reason why these policies are being proposed but not actually implemented, because unfortunately, we do have, bicameral legislatures and we do have divided government. So, it may be led by a progressive, but there might be a, Republican assembly.
I know those Republicans have been ruining Connecticut and California for a long time. Mark, I want to go to you. Here's one thing that we do know is that people do like freebies, and people do want to hear, what are you going to do for me? And it resonates, but someone's got to pay this at some point. I just had a great conversation with Dave Walker.
Yes.
That's not being articulated because sometimes it does lose you votes.
Well, Charles, look, I don't think American voters really want to see more spending. They've seen it. $8 trillion did not solve our problems. So these Democrats the other night were effectively saying $8 trillion wasn't enough. But American voters, as we've seen support for outsiders on the Republican side, American voters are looking for a dramatic change from these spending policies. David Walker was right. We need some mechanisms in place, and like a balanced budget amendment would be a great start, so that way they can be fiscally responsible. But you've got to take a look. They're effectively saying we didn't spend enough and we need to spend more.
We've got to leave it there, but I think we all agree this election will be about the American public with 2 distinct choices, right? More freebies and a lot of lavish spending, or some fiscal responsibility. Thank you both very much. Really appreciate it.